In the deep silence of space, a small alien science ship floated near a dead planet. The planet was cold and empty, with no life, no sound, and no signs of movement. On board the ship, a team of alien scientists worked quietly. They were from a peaceful race called the Valari. Their mission was to explore ancient space signals and learn from the past. That day, they found something strange, an old signal, weak but still active. It came from a small object floating alone near the edge of the star system. The crew moved closer, scanning the object. It was a black metal box, no bigger than a storage crate. It had strange markings on it, written in a language they didn't understand. The lead scientist, Saran, ordered the box to be brought inside. Everyone gathered around as robotic arms placed the box gently on the floor of the lab. The metal was smooth and cold. One word repeated across the surface in large, faded letters: humanity. Saran looked at the others. "What is humanity?" she asked. No one knew. They scanned the box for traps. Nothing dangerous showed up, so they decided to open it. The moment they touched the latch, everything changed. The lights on the ship flickered. A loud siren screamed through the room. Then a voice, cold and mechanical, spoke from nowhere. "Warning, humanity initiated." The crew jumped back, shocked. A blue light glowed from the box as it opened on its own. Inside there were strange objects, tools, small machines, data cubes, and something that looked like a glowing sphere. The sphere floated upward and began to spin. Then it spoke. "Hello, I am Scout. You have opened humanity's starter kit. Are you ready?" No one answered. They didn't know what to say. Saran stepped forward and asked carefully, What is this kit?" Scout replied, "This is the legacy of humans. Their knowledge, their weapons, their warnings. You now hold their final gift." Saran looked at the objects inside. Some devices were smooth and polished, others looked damaged and burnt. A small cube suddenly turned on, showing a video. In it, a human in a dark uniform looked into the camera. "If you're seeing this," the human said, "then we are gone. But we left something behind. Use it wisely, or not at all." The video ended. Silence filled the room again. Scout floated closer to Saran. "You have 3 options," it said. "Use the kit, lock the kit, or run." Saran didn't know what to do. She looked around at her team. They were scared. Something about this kit felt dangerous, ancient, powerful. Then, something worse happened. The ship's communication system started blinking. A message had been sent from the kit, automatically. It was a signal, shot far into deep space. "Humanity has been found, all protocols active." The crew panicked. Saran ordered the box sealed, but it was too late. Scout spoke again. "You have awakened the last protocol. Others will come, some to find you, some to stop you." Saran called the command center. "We need backup, immediately." Somewhere in space, ships started to move. Old powers woke up. Something was coming. The Valari crew stood around the box, unsure of what they had done. They didn't know who the humans were, but now they had their last gift, and the galaxy had just changed forever. The Valari science ship waited in silence. The strange box, the humanity starter kit, sat in the center of the lab, still glowing faintly. Scout, the floating AI sphere, hovered nearby, silent now. But its warning still echoed in the minds of the crew. Saran stood by the window, looking at the stars. Her thoughts were racing. The message the box sent out had gone far into space. Anyone, or anything, could hear it. And now they were waiting, hoping nothing terrible would arrive. 3 days later, something did. A Valari warship dropped out of hyperspace, large and dark, shaped like a flying knife. It moved quickly and stopped near the science ship. On board were elite diplomats, scientists, and military leaders. They had come to deal with the situation. This was no longer just science. It was now a matter of security. Admiral Threx entered the lab, followed by his guards. He was tall, with green skin and cold eyes. "What is this device?" he asked sharply. Saran stepped forward. "We don't know everything yet, but it's human, very old, very powerful, and it may be dangerous." Scout floated toward the Admiral. "Welcome," it said calmly. "You have joined the next phase. Do you wish to continue?" Threx frowned. "We need answers. Who were the humans? Why did they disappear? What is this kit for?" Scout replied, "Humans were explorers, fighters, and builders. Long ago, they faced an enemy so powerful that it nearly ended everything. This kit was made in case they failed. A way to warn others, or help them fight, if needed." Threx turned to Saran. "Do you believe it?" "I don't know," she said quietly. "But we've already sent out the signal. Something is coming." To understand the kit better, the crew began testing the objects inside. One of the engineers activated a small device. It floated, scanned the room, and then released a pulse of blue light. Suddenly, a cube of energy appeared in the air. It had its own gravity, pulling nearby tools toward it. Then, just as quickly, it disappeared. Everyone stared in silence. The energy reading from the pulse was stronger than anything the Volari had ever seen, and then it got worse. A new signal activated. This one came from deep inside the box. Scout announced, "Secondary beacon triggered, broadcasting coordinates now." Threx snapped, "What coordinates?" Scout answered, "To those who remember, to those who still listen. Humanity has been found." Back on the bridge, the communication officers saw something terrifying. The beacon signal had gone beyond their system, beyond the nearby stars, farther than any Volari signal had ever reached. Saran whispered, "We've told the entire galaxy where we are." They didn't know what might come. Friends? Enemies? Or something worse? Scout spoke again, softly now. "You have opened the kit. You must make a choice. Use it, lock it, or run." Threx looked at the glowing sphere. "What happens if we use it?" Scout paused, then said, "You will become part of the human legacy. You will carry their strength, their knowledge, their enemies, and their war." Saran looked up sharply. "Enemies? You said they fought something terrible." "Yes," Scout replied. "They called it the Silence, a race or force that kills everything it touches. It doesn't speak. It doesn't stop. It only consumes. That is who destroyed the humans, and that is who will hear the signal, if they still exist." The room was quiet. Even Threx seemed unsure now. Then, one of the sensors beeped. A ship, unknown design, had entered the edge of the system. It was not Volari. It was not any known species. It was coming fast. Saran looked at Threx. "What do we do?" He hesitated. "We hold position. We wait." Scout's lights pulsed, slowly. "They are coming. You woke the past. Now it wakes you." The alien ship kept moving silent and dark, heading straight for them. The Volari didn't fire. They didn't speak. They just watched. The second contact was about to begin, and this time it wasn't peaceful. The unknown ship moved through space like a shadow. It made no sound, sent no signals, and answered no calls. The Volari science ship and the warship stayed still, watching it come closer. The crew was tense. Weapons were ready, but no one fired. They didn't know what this thing was, but deep inside they felt fear, a quiet, cold fear. Scout floated in the lab, glowing a little brighter now. "That is not a friend," it said calmly. "That is what humans feared. You should be ready." "Admiral." Threx stared at the dark ship on the screen. "Are you saying that's the Silence?" Scout's voice lowered. "I don't know, but it looks like the same pattern. Quiet, empty, dangerous." The enemy ship stopped near the edge of the Volari fleet. No weapons powered up, no communication. It just sat there, watching. Threx gave the order to scan it. The sensors picked up old human technology, but changed, twisted, as if someone had broken it and rebuilt it wrong. The energy readings were strange, unstable, like something was trying to stay alive inside. Saran whispered, "Could it be human-made?" Scout replied, "Yes. Once. Long ago. Before they were destroyed." Saran looked at the others. What if this is what's left of humanity? What if they didn't die, just changed? No one had an answer. Then, a sudden alarm rang through the ship. One of the devices from the starter kit had activated on its own. A small black cube opened and released a projection. An old message. A human general appeared, his face tired and eyes dark. "This is General Ashen Reyes. Final log. Earth is gone. Mars is lost. We held the line at Titan, but they broke through. The silence cannot be stopped. If you find this, do not search for us. Do not open the box. Run or fight. There is no other choice." The message ended. Silence. Threx turned to Scout. "He said to run. Is that still possible?" Scout shook slightly. "In the air. The signal has already been sent. They know you're here. You can't hide now." Suddenly, the enemy ship began to move again. One of the Volari officers shouted, "It's launching drones!" Dozens of small insect-like machines flew out from the ship. They didn't fire. They just floated toward the Volari vessels, scanning, watching. Saran said, "It's studying us. Learning how we work." Threx gave the order to raise shields. One drone got too close. The Volari warship shot it down. Then everything changed. The enemy ship powered up its weapons. Dark energy, flickering like broken lightning. Scout screamed, "It's responding! You attacked first!" The warship was hit, not with missiles, but with some kind of energy wave. The shields cracked. Parts of the hull began to rot, metal turning to dust in seconds. "They're using entropy weapons," shouted the weapons officer. "This isn't normal tech." The Volari returned fire, but the damage was small. The enemy ship didn't even move. It seemed beyond pain. Saran looked at Scout. "How did humans fight this?" Scout replied, "With fire, with sacrifice, with everything they had." "Did they win?" Scout was quiet for a long time. "No, not really." The science ship tried to move away, but the enemy drones followed it. One of them latched onto the hull and began drilling in. Threx ordered full retreat. "We need to fall back. Get the kit. Out of here!" Saran grabbed the starter kit and ran to the escape shuttle with 2 engineers. Scout followed close behind. The enemy ship fired again. The science vessel shook violently. Fires broke out. Air began to leak. Saran looked back one last time and saw the warship still fighting, holding the enemy off. Then the shuttle launched. Inside, the crew was shaken but alive. Saran opened the kit again. A second layer had unlocked. Inside was a star map with dozens of marked locations. One of them blinked red. Scout said, "There is one place left, a human vault, hidden, forgotten. Maybe it has something that can help." Saran looked at the map. "Where is it?" Scout answered, "Near a dying star. Far from here, but not far enough." Saran nodded. "Set course. We go there. We find the vault." Behind them, in the dark, the enemy ship turned slowly and began to follow. The small escape shuttle flew through space, fast and silent. Inside, Saran and 2 engineers sat quietly. The starter kit sat on the floor, closed but glowing softly. Scout floated in the air, its blue light flickering. Outside the window, stars passed by, but behind them, something followed. Scout's voice broke the silence. "We are not alone. The enemy ship is tracking us, but it is slow. We have time, if we move quickly." Saran nodded. "Then take us to the vault, now." Scout showed them the coordinates again, an old human station hidden near a dying red star, a forgotten place, maybe a graveyard, maybe a weapon. As they moved closer to the system, sensors picked up something unexpected. "There's another ship here," said one of the engineers. "Old design, human signature." They slowed down and approached it carefully. The ship was floating without power, its lights dead. No signs of life. But it was definitely human. The hull was damaged. Burn marks, blast holes, deep scars. The name was barely visible. HSS Deliverance. Scout whispered. That ship was part of the final fleet. It never made it home. Saran looked at the wreck through the window. Can we dock? Yes, Scout said, but be careful. It may not be empty. They connected to the old ship and entered through a small airlock. Inside, everything was dark. The walls were covered in dust, broken screens, floating debris. Silence. They turned on lights and moved slowly through the corridors. There were no bodies, only bones. Some still in uniform, some near weapons, one near a wall where a message was written in blood. They got inside. Saran felt cold. What happened here? Scout led them to the bridge. The control room was half broken, but the main terminal still worked. Scout plugged in and activated the logs. A voice crackled through the speaker. It was a recording, old, weak, full of static. Captain Reyes, final report. We lost the outer ring. The silence boarded us. We tried to fight, but they changed. Became part of the ship. I sealed the vault data. If you find this, don't trust anything. Not even your own eyes. The message ended. Suddenly, a light flickered in the hallway. One of the engineers looked around. Did you see that? Scout's voice became sharp. We are not alone. Something is still here. They drew their weapons, simple energy pistols. They didn't expect a fight, but now they felt trapped. Saran looked at a nearby door. That's the data room, right? Scout nodded. Yes, the captain said he sealed something inside. It could be the path to the vault. They opened the door. Inside was a data cube, small, silver, and glowing red. Saran picked it up. As soon as she did, alarms started to ring. Warning! System breach! Entity detected! Scout yelled. We must leave! Now! Behind them, shadows moved. But not like normal shadows. These were alive, crawling on the walls, sliding along the floor. Not solid, not liquid, like smoke with teeth. The crew ran. One of the shadows touched a pipe, and it turned to rust in seconds. Saran reached the airlock and threw the data cube into the shuttle. One engineer followed her. The second was not so lucky. He screamed as a shadow touched his face and turned to dust. The door shut behind them. The shuttle disconnected and escaped the wreck. Inside, Saran stared at the stars. What were those things? Scout answered quietly. That is what happens when the silence infects machines and memories. She looked at the data cube. Is this safe? No, Scout said, but it is the key to the vault. Without it, you will not find the truth. Saran took a deep breath. Then let's go. Let's end this. Behind them, the dark ship, the infected human vessel, floated alone in the dying system. But deep inside its broken halls, something watched them go, and it remembered. Their faces. The dying red star filled the sky like a huge burning eye. Its light was weak, but it still cast a reddish glow on everything. Saran's shuttle moved slowly toward a giant asteroid floating near the star. The vault was hidden there, just like the map and data cube had shown. This is it, Scout said. The last human vault. No signal, no power, no activity, just silence. Saran nodded, staring at the rock ahead. Let's see what's left. The asteroid didn't look special, just another floating rock in space. But as they got closer, they saw shapes, metal doors, hidden antennas, and a long tunnel carved into the stone. It was clearly artificial. The vault was real. The shuttle landed near the entrance. The air was thin, almost gone. They wore suits and walked slowly through the tunnel. It was cold. Too cold. Inside the vault, the hallway stretched deep into darkness. Strange symbols were carved on the walls. Old Earth languages. Some were human military warnings. Others were marks of pride and loss. Scout floated ahead, scanning everything. This vault was sealed with triple locks. Only a few human commanders had the code. "Can we open it?" Saran asked. "Yes," Scout replied. "The data cube from the ship has the key." They reached a large door made of black steel. It was covered in deep scratches. Something had tried to get in. Or out. Scout connected to the door. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then, with a heavy sound, the vault opened. Inside was a huge chamber, round and deep. Rows of machines stood like silent soldiers. Giant screens lined the walls. At the center was a raised platform with a glass pod. Inside the pod was a person, a human, frozen in cryosleep. Saran gasped. "They left someone behind." Scout scanned the pod. Name, Commander Elias Var, last living officer of the Titan Project. "What was the Titan Project?" she asked. Scout hovered silently for a moment. "The final weapon, a mix of human strength and machine power, meant to stop the silence. It failed, or was never used." Saran looked around. "Why leave him? Asleep?" "Because waking him," Scout said, "might restart the war." Suddenly the vault lights blinked. Power systems hummed. Something had triggered them. One of the engineers checked the screen. "We didn't do that." Scout's voice became sharp. "Something followed us. Something from the Deliverance." Outside, alarms rang. Intrusion detected. Saran turned to Scout. "We have no choice. Wake the commander." Scout hesitated, then activated the pod. Steam hissed out as the glass opened. The man inside took a deep breath and opened his eyes. He looked around, confused. "Where am I?" Saran stepped forward. "Commander Var, you're safe. You've been asleep a long time. Humanity is gone. But your enemy, it's still out there." The man sat up slowly. He looked at the machines, at Scout, at the vault. His face was tired, but his eyes were sharp. "You opened the kit." Saran nodded. "We had to." Var stood. "Then we don't have much time." He walked over to a panel and pressed a switch. The floor opened, revealing a deep chamber filled with heavy weapons and armor. Not normal weapons, human super tech, the kind only legends spoke of. "This is Titan-class gear," he said, "built to fight the silence face to face. One soldier could hold off an army." Saran asked, "Can we use it?" Var smiled sadly. "You'll have to, because they're here." A deep rumble shook the vault. The dark ship had arrived. It had found them. Scout floated closer. "We cannot run now. We must fight." Var looked at Saran. "You're not human. But you opened our last hope. So now, you're part of this war." Saran nodded. "We'll stand with you." He handed her a small device. "Then suit up, because when the silence knocks, you hit back harder." Outside, the enemy landed. The final war was beginning again. But this time, humanity wasn't alone. The vault shook with each step the enemy took outside. The dark ship had landed on the asteroid. More drones were coming. Shadow things with broken metal limbs and glowing red eyes. They were the silence, hungry, quiet, deadly. Inside, Commander Elias Var moved quickly. He opened the Titan weapon, vaults, huge cases of armor and strange guns that hummed with energy. "These weapons were made for war," Var said. "They think you're weak. Show them they're wrong." Saran and the two engineers suited up. The armor wrapped around their bodies like a second skin. It wasn't just strong, it was smart. It moved with them, protected them, even healed them. The helmets showed every signal, every movement, and every threat. Scout floated beside them. "I will guide you through the vault. The exit tunnel leads to a high ground above. You must hold that point." Var looked at Saran. "When you reach the top, activate the beacon. It's an ancient human distress signal. If anything still remembers us out there, it might come." Saran nodded. Understood. The enemy breached the vault door. Dark drones rushed in, fast, sharp, and silent. Saran raised her Titan rifle and fired. A single blast tore through 3 drones. The energy crackled and burned like fire mixed with lightning. The engineers followed, using heavy pulse cannons. Each shot sent enemies flying. Commander Var stepped forward, holding a long black sword that glowed red. He moved like a shadow, slicing through the invaders with perfect skill. Every swing was clean, every step was firm. "We hold this line," he shouted. "Let them know humanity still fights." More enemies poured in. Scout shouted, "We need to move! Now! They'll overrun this level!" Saran led the way through the side tunnel. The team moved fast, firing at enemies behind them. Some drones crawled on the ceiling. Others dropped from above like spiders. But the Titan armor protected them. They reached the lift and took it to the surface. Above, the red star glowed dimly. The ground shook. The dark ship was opening again, this time revealing something new. A giant. A creature made of metal and darkness. 3 times taller than a normal being. Its face was a blank mask. Its body crackled with black energy. Scout's voice trembled for the first time. That is a Silence Prime, the one who led the final attack on Earth. Commander Var stared at it. "I've fought that one before." Saran raised her rifle. "Then we finish it now!" They activated the beacon. A sharp pulse of light shot into the sky, a human signal older than any current technology. Somewhere, far across the galaxy, someone might still hear it. The Prime turned its head slowly. Then it charged. The ground broke under its feet. Every step made the asteroid tremble. Saran fired at its chest. The blast hit, but only slowed it for a second. Var jumped at the Prime with his energy blade. The 2 giants clashed. Metal against metal, light against dark. The fight was brutal. The Prime's arm turned into a spike and stabbed at Var. But Var dodged and slashed its side. Sparks flew. The creature screamed, not with sound, but with a wave of fear that shook the mind. Saran and the others fired at its back. Missiles, beams, grenades. Nothing stopped it completely. The Prime raised both arms and released a shockwave. The engineers were thrown back. One hit a rock hard and didn't move again. Saran got up slowly, blood on her lip, anger in her eyes. "We end this," she said. She ran straight at the Prime, jumping on its back. Her armor adapted, magnetizing her grip. She climbed up its spine while firing at its neck. Var saw the chance. He stabbed his sword through the creature's chest. The Prime screamed again, this time with real pain. It began to fall. Saran jumped off just as the creature crashed into the rocks. The ground split. The dark ship trembled. Drones began to shut down. The enemy was retreating. Scout floated closer. Signal detected. Unknown ships inbound. Human design, but newer. Saran looked up. "They heard us?" "Someone did," Scout said. In the sky, bright shapes appeared, ships with human symbols. But different, upgraded, alive. A voice came over the radio. "This is the Legacy Fleet. We received the old code. Looks like you held the line." Saran smiled. "We did more than that." Commander Var stepped beside her. "Now let's take the fight to them." The silence had returned, but so had humanity. The sky above the asteroid was no longer empty. Dozens of ships came through the stars, sleek, powerful, glowing with human lights. They were from the Legacy Fleet, a hidden force built in secret long after the fall of Earth. Their weapons were quiet but deadly. Their symbols were old, but their mission was new. Finish what the old world started. Saran watched from the rocky surface. Her Titan armor was burned and cracked. One engineer was gone. The other leaned on a broken cannon, injured, but alive. Commander Var stood with his sword buried in the ground, silent and still. Scout hovered beside them. The signal reached them. The beacon worked. Saran nodded. Then humanity was never truly gone. the lead ship of the Legacy fleet opened. A channel. A woman's voice spoke. "This is Admiral Reza of the Phoenix-class battleship Ascension. Who leads your team?" Var stepped forward. "I am Commander Elias Var of the Titan Project." "You are late," Reza laughed softly. "So are you. We thought you were dead." "Not yet," Var said, "but the silence is back, stronger than before, and we don't have much time." The Legacy fleet quickly moved into position above the asteroid. Fighters launched and surrounded the area. Scans showed more enemy ships approaching from deep space. The silence wasn't done yet. It was sending more, a whole wave. Reza sent a report to the ground team. "A storm is coming. 10 Silence warships, dozens of drones, and one more, another prime." Saran asked, "Can we stop them?" Var answered, "We don't run anymore. This time, we strike first." Inside the vault, Saran and the engineers worked with the Legacy crew. They activated defense systems, giant cannons, energy shields, and pulse mines hidden in the rocks. Var stood at the edge of the cliff, looking into the stars. "When Earth fell, we lost our home, but not our spirit. Humanity is fire. We burn even in darkness." Scout whispered, "They're almost here." The ground shook again, the stars blinked, and then the silence came. 10 black ships fell from the sky like broken moons. Their shadows covered the red light of the dying star. Drones poured out like insects. The second prime, even larger than the first, roared with energy that bent space around it. The final battle began. The Legacy fleet fired first. Bright beams shot through the blackness, hitting drones and warships. Some ships exploded in flame. Others kept coming. On the ground, the vault's defense systems lit up the night. Mines ripped through swarms, cannons fired into the sky, but still they came. Saran and Var led a team into the heart of the battle. They used Titan suits to leap across the battlefield. Every shot counted. Every step mattered. One engineer fell, dragged away by drones. Another stayed behind to hold a gate, buying time with his last breath. The Prime moved through the chaos like a god of death. Saran shouted, "It's heading for the vault!" Var replied, "Then we stop it here." The two of them faced it together. Var charged with his sword glowing white-hot. The Prime blocked him, swinging a blade made of broken stars. The two clashed, man and monster, past and future. Saran saw the weak point. She climbed a nearby tower, aimed her last Titan rocket at the Prime's neck, and fired. Direct hit. The Prime screamed. Var stabbed deep. The creature fell to its knees. Then, with one last cry, it exploded, releasing a wave of silence that destroyed the remaining drones. It was over. Smoke filled the air. Fires burned across the asteroid. But the light of the Legacy fleet still shined above. Admiral Reza's voice came through again. "We've won this time, but they'll come again." "They always do." Saran looked at the horizon. "Then we'll be ready." Var put a hand on her shoulder. "The fire lives on, not just in humans, but in all who stand and fight." Scout floated higher, glowing brighter than ever. The starter kit was not a weapon. It was a spark. You lit it again. The Legacy fleet began helping survivors. Ships landed to repair and rebuild. The vault would be their new base. A symbol of the old world, and a hope for the new one. Saran looked at the sky one last time. Somewhere, deep in the dark, other galaxies watched. Maybe other threats would rise, but they would never face them alone again. Because humanity had returned. And this time, it was ready. End.